Harry and Meghan are leaving the palace to become financially independent. This is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. She looked at Harry and she's like, "Nigga, you need to get a job. You a grown-ass man. You can't still be living in your mama's house, Harry."
If I want to play polo in my living room, who's gonna stop me?
Stop that.
Right away, Megs.
Tonight isn't about a joke, it's about a line. Trevor Noah crossed it, the audience laughed, and Meghan Markle heard every second of it. The cameras caught the smirks, the clips went viral. But what happens when the punchline finally talks back? That's the question burning through this story. Because this time, Meghan doesn't walk away, she fires back. It started with a roar and that slow, guilty kind of laughter you hear when people know the truth is being dragged into the light. Trevor didn't play safe. He treated the royal exit like a court case, and Meghan like the defendant. He poked the race angle, the brand angle, the we want privacy angle. He shaped the crowd's mood in real time. One line, a beat, then the laugh. That's how you cut someone's image without ever raising your voice. It wasn't just a joke, it was a verdict. Here's why it hit so hard. For years, Meghan's critics got dismissed as bitter, jealous, or worse. Then an award-winning comedian, an immigrant with global cred, walked on stage and said what many were thinking but too nervous to say. He didn't say she was evil. He didn't scream. He just used timing like a scalpel and sliced open the glossy story. A dream wedding, a Netflix deal, a book, a podcast. And underneath, a gap between the image and the reality people felt in their gut. Viewers saw it, they laughed. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But that wasn't the whole story. The Noah moment wasn't a one-night event. It was a spark. Late-night hosts smelled blood. Podcasts clipped it. Sketch shows spun it. Suddenly, Meghan and Harry were not the main characters. They were content. Conan tossed out a wax figure gag. A podcast giant told his "Prince came for me" bit and ran the room. Saturday Night Live turned them into a recurring punchline. It stopped feeling like news. It started feeling like a genre. Every week a new roast. Every week a new clip. And every time, a little more of the brand washed away. Across the ocean, the tone got meaner. British comics didn't do careful, they went for the jugular. Puppet shows redrew their faces with permanent smirks and clueless grins. In one skit, Harry can't even hold a normal job. He needs a butler to hand him the remote. In another, Meghan sells a syrupy wellness idea like it's a royal commandment. It's loud, it's silly, but satire is a mirror that warps to tell a truth. The truth they're screaming is this: people don't buy the fairy tale anymore. Not in London, not in New York, not online. And then the internet took over. That's when things got dangerous. Because TV jokes fade when you switch channels. Memes don't. A tiny moment. Meghan correcting someone's wording became a loop. Slow it down, add captions, push to For You pages around the world. A lifestyle tip becomes a rich person pretending to be relatable meme. A photo becomes a template. A sentence becomes a sound. Now it's not Trevor's show, it's millions of phones, millions of edits, millions of laughs. They don't need a studio, they don't need a network, and they don't need to be fair. So where does Meghan's clapback fit into this storm? Right here. When the jokes turn into truth in people's heads, silence isn't strong. It looks like surrender. Meghan knows PR. She knows timing. She knows the image you leave is the image people keep. The decision lands like a hammer. Respond. Not with a meltdown, not with a rant. With posture. With control. With a line that resets the frame. I'm not your joke. But first, let's be honest about why the jokes work at all. It's the contradiction. We want privacy, followed by a multi-episode Netflix special about their private life. We're stepping back, followed by magazine covers. We don't want the attention, followed by a brand built on attention. That gap is the whole game. Comics hunt for gaps. Audiences smell them. Once they do, every move feeds the fire. Another podcast, another punchline, another photo shoot, another meme. The price of fame is that your message is only half yours. The other half belongs to everyone else with a camera and Wi-Fi. So what does firing back look like when the laughing won't stop? You don't swing at every joke, you pick the pressure point. Meghan's team studies the clips. Which line crossed the line? Which joke turned from satire into character attack? Which moment took a cheap shot at race or twisted a family issue for laughs? Target found. The clapback must be clean, short, on message, no victim tone, no poor me. It has to flip the frame, from punchline to principle. The first move is tone. Calm, clipped, and certain. Not angry, not shaky, steady. She doesn't repeat the insult, she doesn't dignify the ugliest words by saying them back. She uses the weight of her voice like a judge tapping the gavel once. When jokes blur into attacks that dehumanize, we have to say it plainly. That's not comedy, that's cruelty. The goal isn't to silence comedians, the goal is to force the audience to choose, cheap laugh or basic respect. Make the viewer feel like they took part in something a little off, a little low. Shame is a stronger edit than any PR spin, but that alone won't hold. You need receipts, or at least reality checks. Remind people that behind the headlines are actual projects, actual work, actual days, the hospital visits nobody filmed, the scholarships nobody posted, the boring real things that never trend because they're not spicy. The clapback shifts from "you were mean" to "here's what we've actually done." It makes the viewer pause and ask, did we forget the full picture? Maybe. And even a sliver of doubt cools the meme machine. Still, the internet doesn't stop because you asked nicely. So you add friction where it matters. A lawyerly sentence, no threats, just a line that signals boundaries. Keep your jokes, but keep your facts straight. It's a dare and a shield. Comedians hate being caught twisting facts. They'll push back, but they'll also think twice. Once accuracy becomes part of the conversation, the wildest bits lose oxygen. Shows get careful. Clips get trimmed. The loudest roasts look less brave and more messy. There's also a smarter angle that most celebrities miss. Don't fight the joke. Redirect it. If the world insists on seeing you as a brand, outbrand the brand. Announce something useful, not glossy. A skills program with jobs attached, not hashtags. A scholarship with names and numbers, not just a photo. Tie the rollout to the clapback. If you're going to talk about us, at least talk about this. That turns the spotlight you didn't ask for into fuel you can use. Viewers might still laugh, but some will click the link. Now, let's rewind to the spark. Why did Trevor's set read like a public trial? Because it locked onto a fear many people had but wouldn't say, that fame and victimhood were mixing in a way that felt off. He didn't need to prove it. He just needed to make the audience feel it. That's comedy's secret power. It collapses an argument into a punchline the brain remembers. The hairline jab, the royale quip, the idea of a boss calling a prince your majesty while firing him. It sticks not because it's fair, but because it's simple, and simple wins. That's why Meghan's response can't be a paragraph. It has to be a sentence. 10 words beat 1,000. One line that slices straight through the fog. Privacy isn't silence, it's choice. Or critique the work, not the woman. Or if she wants sharp, jokes are fine, lies aren't. Each one does the same job. It turns a messy internet brawl into a clear street sign. People remember street signs. We also need to talk about the slur issue without amplifying it. When a set uses a censored racial slur for a laugh, even in a "see how crazy this sounds" way, it stains the air. Some viewers will defend it as edgy, others will feel their stomach drop. Meghan's clapback doesn't repeat any word. It doesn't beg for sympathy. It simply sets a rule. You can't fight bias by performing it. That sentence is a brick wall. No yelling, no tears, a boundary in plain language. And what about the British side? The meaner side? The puppets? The brutal one-liners? The old scandals pulled back into daylight like trophies? That's where many reputations break for good. Because British satire is built to strip status down to bone. If you want to compete there, you don't posture. You humanize. A short, specific story beats a grand speech. Share a moment with a nurse who asked for a selfie and then cried because she missed her kid's school play. Share the message from a woman who said, "I left a bad job because I heard you talk about your choice." Those stories feel small. They are, and that's the point. Small beats puppet big, because small is true. Another hard truth. A lot of viewers don't hate Meghan. They're tired. Tired of announcements. Tired of projects coming soon. Tired of press without payoff. The clapback can answer that fatigue with something unexpected, silence after the statement. One line, one drop, then vanish for a month while something real launches. Nothing kills a meme like boredom. If there's no new quote to twist, the meme feeds on old clips, and old clips get stale. The internet moves on. But the team also knows the internet loves a fight, so bait them, but on your terms. Invite a respected comic, not a tabloid pundit, to talk about where comedy crosses into harm. Sit down, not for a sob story, but for a real debate. Keep it cool, no gotchas. When a viewer sees you willing to sit in the tension without flinching, you earn something jokes can't take. Poise. That's the one thing a roast can't counterfeit. Let's zoom in on Harry for a second, because half the punch land on him. He's painted as the pampered prince who can't hold a normal job, the guy who complains from the back of a black SUV. That image is sticky. It makes him look unserious. The fix isn't another speech about trauma. It's quiet competence. It's unglamorous leadership in places that don't trend. Veteran groups, rehab centers, farming co-ops, places where cameras can't film everything. When a few of those stories leak out, not from a press release, but from the people helped, the helpless Harry gag goes limp. Now back to Meghan's voice. There's a line she can deliver that wraps this whole arc in one bow. It's not rage. It's not begging. It's a rule anyone can understand. Say anything about me, just tell the truth. It sounds simple. It is. But it shifts the ground. The debate moves from "do we like Meghan" to "did they lie?" That's a stronger field to fight on. Jokes survive dislike. They wither under fact checks. We also can't ignore the business under the buzz. Deals rise and fall. Shows launch and stall. People talk about dollars when they really mean trust. If viewers think the work is thin, the jokes will always find a way back. So the answer is work that doesn't need a caption to make sense. A school you can walk through, a clinic you can find on a map, a fund with public numbers. The best clapback is proof. And here's the twist most people miss. Firing back isn't about winning a fight with a comedian. It's about resetting the audience's expectations before the next punch. Because the next punch is coming. That's how cycles work. A new clip, a new quip, a new meme. You cannot stop the river. You guide it. If your sentence, your posture, your proof become the frame, the water runs clear even when it's loud. Let's talk strategy for the next 30 days, the window that decides whether her line lands or dies in the scroll. Day 1. The statement, short, steady, human. Day 3. A concrete update on a real-world project, no glamour shots. Day 10. A quiet media sit-down, not with a fan or a hater, with someone who can push and listen. Day 15. Nothing. Let the buzz echo against silence. Day 21. A progress post with numbers, not adjectives. Day 30. A clip from someone helped, not from Meghan. That's how you replace a roast timeline with a results timeline. Some people will hate this no matter what. That's fine. The goal of a clapback isn't to convert the loudest critics. It's to give the reasonable middle a reason to stop laughing and start thinking. Comedy is powerful, but it's not perfect. It can punch down, it can miss, it can become a habit that people keep even when the target no longer deserves it. Give that middle a way out. Give them a sentence they can repeat at dinner when someone plays the latest puppet clip. Jokes are fine. Lies aren't. Watch what happens when a room nods, even a little. And if you're wondering about that first night, the audience stunned, the laugh that felt like a verdict, remember this: verdicts can be appealed, not with rage, not with spin, with clarity, with boundaries, with substance. That's how you turn Meghan as a punchline back into Meghan as a person, even for people who don't like her. In the end, the choice is not between silence and a scream, it's between noise and signal. Trevor Noah used signal, so did the comics who came after. They aimed at a gap, and they hit it. The only winning answer is to close the gap. Let the work match the words. Let the brand match the life. When that happens, the jokes keep coming, but they stop landing. People will still laugh at the old bits, sure, but they'll feel the laugh catch in their throat when the new facts don't fit the old punchline. So can Meghan reclaim the story after becoming the meme? Yes, if the clapback is not just a post but a plan, if the sentence is sharp, if the proof arrives, if the next month feels like action, not acting, if the goal is not to crush comedy but to call it higher. And when the next host tries to score an easy win, the viewers who heard her line and saw her work will hear the punchline and ask a simple question: is that true? If the answer is no, the laugh dies on the way out. That's how you end a roast without ever killing a joke. Meghan's final word, if she wants it to stick, can fit on a thumbnail in a billboard. It can sit in a caption in a courtroom. It can rise above any stage and echo through any feed. 4 words, 10 tons of weight. I'm not your joke. The rest? Let the work talk. But there's a deeper layer to all this that most people never see. Comedy doesn't happen in a vacuum. It follows wind. It follows what people are already whispering to their friends. That's why Trevor's set felt like a verdict. It wasn't just his timing, it was the audience's appetite. They were ready to laugh at a story that had been sold too hard for too long. The lesson is brutal but simple. When the audience senses salesmanship, they reach for sarcasm. When they sense honesty, they soften. Meghan's job now is to move the room from sarcasm back to softening, one clear choice at a time. Think about how this works in the brain. A joke is a shortcut. It skips the debate and lands as a feeling. Yeah, that sounds right. If that feeling keeps getting reinforced, another meme, another clip, another late-night opener, it hardens into belief. That's why fighting with points and footnotes rarely fixes anything. People don't switch beliefs because you lectured them. They switch because a new feeling displaces the old one. The clapback has to create that new feeling. Respect, steadiness, proof. It should make a viewer pause and think, okay, maybe I judged too fast. There's also a smart way to turn the crowd from judges into witnesses. Invite them to watch a process, not just a polished post. Don't show the ribbon cutting, show the plan on a whiteboard. The messy middle, the first small win. Viewers bond with work in progress. It feels human. When you show only finished products, people assume a PR machine built it. When you show the struggle, they root for the person. And when they root for the person, the internet's appetite for slapstick slows down. Now imagine the next round of jokes hits. Another monologue, another puppet bit, another podcast rant. This time, the timeline around the couple looks different. The jokes are met, not with a quote from a publicist, but with a quiet testimonial from someone helped by their projects. A student reading a scholarship letter, a nurse talking about a mental health program, a veteran describing a counseling session that actually helped him sleep. Those aren't gotcha clips, they're anchors. Anchors don't make waves, they hold a ship steady when the waves hit. That's the role of proof in a storm. Let's talk about speed. The internet moves fast. The temptation is to answer fast, but speed often reads as panic. A better play is rhythm, a steady beat of action that people can feel even if they're not paying close attention. Monday, the line. Friday, the numbers. 2 weeks later, the face of someone helped. A month later, a partner not famous, just credible. Rhythm breeds trust, and trust is the one thing a roast cannot counterfeit. Some will say, but comedy is comedy. Lighten up. Fine, let comedy be comedy. The point isn't to scold a stage. The point is to separate honest jokes from hit jobs. There's room to laugh at the weirdness of royal titles, at the awkwardness of public life, even at the irony of swapping palaces for mansions. But when a set leans on a slur, or when a sketch sells a lie as if it's a fact, that's not wit. That's laziness dressed as edge. Draw that line. Hold it without anger. Most people respect a clean boundary stated once. The other half of this is Harry. He gets framed as unserious because cameras only catch him when he's either joking around or complaining. There's a third picture that rarely gets shown. Harry doing quiet, boring, necessary work. The stuff that doesn't trend. He needs more of that, and he needs less commentary around it. If he's in the room where actual logistics are decided, budgets, staffing, training, people in those rooms will talk. Word travels, and organic word beats a staged photo every day of the week. Here's a trick for diffusing the next viral moment before it happens. Pick a topic the internet loves to use against them, say privacy. Then redefine it in one simple line you repeat for a year. Not a slogan, a sentence. Privacy isn't hiding, it's deciding. Drop it in every serious interview, every written statement, every bio line that allows it. After 6 months, even critics start using your words by accident. And when they do, they're already halfway to your frame. It's also fair to ask, what if Trevor answers back? What if he doubles down with a new set? Good. That's a chance to show grace under pressure. The strongest move is to acknowledge his talent, reaffirm the boundary, and then drop a new proof point from your work. We respect comedy, we respect truth more. Here are the facts. Then stop. The audience can tell when someone's trying to win a fight versus trying to win trust. Choose the second. It pays longer. Let's be real about fatigue. Many viewers hit play on anything Sussex related already tired. They've heard the backstory, they've heard the pledges, they've heard the grievances. That's why this next chapter has to feel different from the first frame. No epic music, no trembling voice, no sweeping words, a calm tone, plain language, crisp facts, and at least one unexpected moment of humility. Not the canned "we made mistakes" line, something specific and small. I said something last year that was unfair. I regret it. Here's what I learned. Humility builds a bridge over the eye roll. There's another lever most celebrities ignore: good faith engagement with a critic who isn't a troll. One thoughtful conversation with a comedian or commentator who disagrees, conducted in good faith, no gotchas, signals confidence. You don't need to win the debate, you just need to show you're not afraid of one. When people see you sit in tension without flinching, their respect clicks up a notch. Respect is the opposite of ridicule. You won't gain it with clapping back alone, you earn it by staying present when it would be easier to storm off. Now the obvious what if? What if nothing works? What if the jokes keep coming and the memes keep growing? Then you do what grown-ups do when the crowd won't calm down. You keep your promises anyway. You keep building anyway. You let time teach. Not every story gets a quick redemption arc. Sometimes the next chapter is quiet, and the only applause comes from a family who got help filling a pantry, or a student who didn't drop out, or a veteran who finally slept through the night. Those victories do not trend, but they do last, and over time they build a different kind of public memory. The funny thing about the internet is that it has a short memory and a long record. People forget posts but rediscover receipts. If you stack a year of steady work, the record starts to outweigh the memes. Reporters looking for what are they up to now will find substance. Documentarians will call those numbers the overlooked chapter. Even comedians, the honest ones, will slip you a nod on stage. At least they're doing something real. That line tossed off mid-set is more valuable than any press release. There's a final move that sounds counterintuitive. Celebrate a fair joke at your own expense. Not the low blow, not the lie. A fair jab. Share it with a shrug and a smile. Okay, that one was good. It telegraphs security. It steals oxygen from the hate machine. And it reminds people you can take a laugh when the laugh is earned. If you only ever scowl. Even the fair comics start aiming for you because the tension pays. Diffuse it once in a while. Pick your moments. It works. So where does that leave the audience? The people scrolling. The people deciding whether to share the next clip. It leaves them with a choice too. They can keep feeding the loop. Or they can raise the bar a little. Not by banning jokes, but by rewarding the sharp ones that punch up and starving the lazy ones that punch low. Viewers don't think they have power, but they do. Attention is a currency. Spend it on better. If this sounds like a plan, it is. It's a plan that trades noise for signal, speed for rhythm, image for work. A plan that assumes the jokes will never stop and decides to be unshakable anyway. The question that opened this video still stands. What happens when the punchline talks back? The better version of that answer isn't louder words. It's quieter strength. It's a voice that speaks once, then lets results do the rest. And if the next headline tries to drag you back into the old chapter, remember what the new chapter is built on. A single boundary, spoken clearly, lived daily. Respect the art, Reject the smear, show the work. Repeat. It's not flashy, it's not fast, but it's how you turn a meme into a footnote. You can hear Trevor's cadence, the crowd's laughter, the clip echoing through timelines. You can also hear something else if you listen closely. The click of minds changing, one by one, when a clean sentence meets a clean example. That's the quiet sound of a narrative shifting. Not because someone shouted the loudest, but because someone stood the straightest. The punchlines will keep flying, they always do. The test isn't whether they land. The test is whether they stick. If the next year is built like a brick wall, fact by fact, act by act, the old jokes will start bouncing. People will still chuckle, then they'll wave it off. Old clip, they'll say. Old take. And the camera will move on, hunting for a new contradiction somewhere else. That's the long game. It doesn't erase what was said. It doesn't punish who said it. It simply makes the old version of you feel out of date. And that, in the end, is the best clapback of all.